ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app. Good evening, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and it's a special edition Monday night with good friend and colleague, Mr. Brady Tinker. I call him the voice of Dallas. Good friend from fantasy football, fantasy baseball. I wish I could golf like this guy, but anyways, it's helped me a lot in this lanes, in this business. And whenever there's a big Dallas moment, I give him a quick call if he's not selling mansions and say, hey, Brady, I need you tonight. And the funny story was we had planned to go Friday night and there was a conflict in the schedule. And I says, don't worry, we'll be back Monday night for you. There'll be a game 5 because he wanted to come on and vent, obviously, after what happened on game 3. But we're blessed and honored to have him here for a game 5 right behind me, high above courtside at the TD Garden. First and foremost, shout out to our proud sponsor and partnership, WagerWire. You know the deal. Head on over to Google Play, download the app. It's free. And you, me, and everyone else will turn this entertainment into sports investing and start building that portfolio. And if you want to join the amazing WagerWire team, send an email to affiliate@wagerwire.com. Tell them JD from ECSI sent you, and Travis, Zach, the rest of this team community, myself will take good care of you. So without further ado, the true star of this show, the one and only, Mr. Brady Tinker.
Good evening, buddy. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Oh, I had a fantastic Father's Day with 2 of my kids watching golf, and we were really talking about how it'd been a long time since, it felt like anyway, since a major had, grabbed us all day Sunday with a who might win. So it was a terrific test of golf. Some of it a little bit, I mean, I can't imagine. I hear from all these guys who are like, I'm a 10. I'll break 100 on that course. And I'm like, dude, I'll let you play the ladies' tees and you ain't breaking 100 on that course. But it's 7,650 yards. I need to rent a car just to get from the tee, all the way to the green. I mean, that thing is so long. And then I love the job they did of showing the actual spots on the green where you could hit the ball, right? I love that those little graphics of here's the green, but not really. It's really over here. And in the end, I know a lot of people are all over Rory for a couple of short missed putts. There are people who weren't necessarily rooting for Bryson because of the live thing, et cetera, et cetera. All of that aside, there were 5 or 6 guys that could have jumped into that. I was really rooting for someone to get in with a 5 under score, right, and just sit there. I was like, I'd like to be that guy and let them have those last 8 holes to see if they can get home. But nobody really did it. Cantlay couldn't make a putt, right? A couple of guys got to 4. Oberg had a tough day, which is almost good to see, because if he's really that good and really that calm in his first U.S. Open, and there are times when it looks like he can't miss a putt, he takes about 4 seconds to make a decision, which I would recommend to anybody out there who's raising a kid maybe who they think is going to be good. Less time standing over the ball, less time twitching, less time with all of it. See it. Lock into it, decide the shape of it, how far it's supposed to go, and tell yourself you're 100% committed and hit the damn thing. And I want to tell you, he does not mess around. He's going to be great, I think. I really do. So it's fun to watch him. Glad Jordan Spieth made the cut. I didn't think he was terrible. To be honest with you, Tiger wasn't terrible either. 74, 73 was a couple of putts. I think he had 4 3 putts in those 2 days. Really take those out, and he makes the cut. And he'd been somewhere around even or 1 or 2, and would have really, had an opportunity to get in this mix of a tournament that we knew was going to finish around 5. So I thought it was great. I'm not mad at anybody. I felt like it was a gift on Father's Day to sit there with my boys and really watch this, root hard, eat a bunch of good food, and I thought it was a great day. I really did. I played at a relatively high level in college. I know what it feels like to miss 3.5 footers. especially on greens that are lightning. And I'm talking about Nassau's or little tournaments that I play with my buddies, not millions of dollars, not, free entrance into other tournaments for the next 5 to 10 years. I mean, there's just so much on the line there. But Rory was definitely lined up left at 18 and spawned on by missing finally at 16. And when we saw him at 16, Jake and I both said the same thing. Don't even think about this. You've got 140 feet worth of made putts. You've been slamming it in the middle all day. You haven't missed a short putt in forever. But I'm telling you, that little seed gets in your mind, that little bitty seed, and you're like, is it left edge? Is it inside? Is it? And both the putt at 16 and the putt at 18 had legitimate break. We hate 3.5 footers with break. We want to be able to slam them up in the left center or the right center and hit it too hard, but you can't hit it too hard on greens that roll 15. It'll be back down at the 150-yard mark. So I get it. And I saw what happened at 18. 18, he was aimed too far left. And I looked at Jake, I'm like, he's aimed too far left. He's got to back up and start again. But none of us, including those at home, do that. We were like, okay, I'm aimed a little far left. I'll just shove it an inch. But when you shove it an inch, you get about right here and you're just about to hit it and you're like, really? I'm just going to shove it an inch for a friggin' U.S. Open? And then you sort of back. I don't fault him at all. It is a unbelievably hard game. I feel badly for him because it's been a long time since he's won a major, and he was that close to overcoming all of these. Well, he never wins a big tournament unless he's bludgeoning you by 12 shots, which is kind of true. And you mentioned it before we started. Bryson had a 3-shot lead. Bryson hit the ball everywhere all day. And for the save of maybe 13 when he finally made a bogey, he hit the ball next to those bushes all day and got one good lie after another. Now, granted, he generates more club head speed, more ball speed. He gets out of stuff like that those of us that are bad players wouldn't do, right? He understands, holding the heel open so the face doesn't flip over. But you saw that from some of the guys out there, that were struggling, right? Taking hacks and the ball going straight left. Well, any long grass or bush or anything like that will grab the hosel of a club and slam it shut. So if you're right-handed, it's going left, and it may go left of left. So, I mean, it was brilliant stuff on a brutally hard golf course. And yet, congratulations to the USGA because they never lost the course, which I thought they might. That was never completely ridiculously unfair. If you could muster the nerve to hit the ball in a 20 by 20 area on every green, you could play away from the hole and you could stay away from doubles. But I thought it was greatness. I really did. I was honestly rooting for Rory. I know that maybe that's anti-American. I was a little bummed at Bryson for coming in as Captain American and hitting the tour like he did. So many of us loved him and then taking the money. I'd have taken the money. But at his age, he's going to make $2 billion. He didn't need that money. On the other hand, all the guys who didn't take the money and now they're eventually going to all get together are probably thinking, I should have taken the money, right? Tiger turned down $920 million. He's got about 5 times that, but he turned down $900 million. So, I don't know. That's all I know. I loved it.
The funny is I'm echoing here. Is that me?
I don't hear it on your end, so it's only you.
You were talking about one of those holes. They did a tweet. What would you do? And I said, I'd take an Uber. That's what I'd do. There's no way,
Well, and what would you do? So Jake and I and Luke were all sitting there, and when Bryson's in the bunker at 18, since we're rooting for Rory, we're like, well, we're probably going to get in the playoff because he's not going to swing full tilt for a 30-yard bunker shot. It was basically 90 feet, a 90-feet bunker shot up to a shelf at the 18th hole, where if he clips it a hair thin and it goes over the back, he might go from winning to losing. He's not doing that. He's aiming 25 left, going to see if he makes a 25-footer. If he doesn't, he's in a playoff, and he likes his chances because Rory's spinning anyway. And instead, he takes a giant hack at what we all know is 6-iron length wedge, right, which makes everything even more difficult, and takes, an unbelievable risk and hits a phenomenal shot. That was a 9.5 out of 10, that bunker shot, and then making the 4.5-footer to win. Give him credit. Just end it right there. Rory missed 2 short-ish putts, but if you ever played golf even once, you know that a 3.5-foot putt, and one of them may have even been closer than that, still isn't a gimme. And especially when you got $20 in a Nassau on the side, or 2.6 million.
Take us to Friday night. Was the city expecting a sweep, or as the game progressed, you could see right away it was a Dallas night. So take us to Friday night. Did you think sweep? What did you see?
I'll tell you, and I'm embarrassed because I knew we were doing this show. I didn't watch. I have a girl that I like, and we were going to go out, and she's like, I'll go watch that game with you. And I was like, I don't want to put myself through the stress because they're not winning this series. Okay. So winning game 4 is not going to make me, it's all about me at this point because it's my decision to watch the damn thing or not, is not going to make me feel any better. What I know is what I know. And the ultimate thing is, as good as Luka Doncic is, and he's definitely top 5 player in the NBA, probably top 3, he's got a long ways to go if he's going to win championships. And that is what this showed him. And I was very pleased after game 3 to see Jason Kidd come out and say he has to be able to guard. I'm like, excellent, because what he just said is he can't be tired and fat at the end of games, because literally he couldn't get out of the way of the 6th foul. It was coming, and you could see it coming from 10 feet. And he's so tired and so big, he couldn't get out of the way. He couldn't get out of the way. Now, old school NBA, all the officials would have in their mind said, we ain't fouling him out. They would have said it. Once he got the 5th foul, they would have said it to themselves. We're not fouling him out unless it's just egregious. So somehow they'd have called a block. I mean, they would have. 15, 20 years ago, definitely that would have been a block. But it wasn't a block. It's hard to take a charge. He was moving. He stuck his hip out. The bottom line is he moved as much as he could, folks. It was only about this far. If he could have moved this far, he would have got out of the way. He couldn't. And so Kidd's point, trying to be as subtle as he could be without calling him out, is he's got to be able to guard. And his follow-up statement to that was, they're literally running him through a blender of picks to get him man-to-man. They're doing it almost every time down the court. And if he's, in between parentheses, too fat and too slow and too tired to be able to move and guard, then we've either got to do kind of what we did to Dirk, which is try and hide him, right? And you know, when they won the championship, then Tyson Chandler would just say, overplay the pick, Dirk, and I will tell you which side. And Tyson would yell at him, right, left. And Dirk would be like, good, I don't have to guard anybody. I'm overplaying the left. I'm feeding him to Tyson if he wants to go to the basket. And that's how they handled it. And maybe they should have done the same thing with Luka. But the difference is, when Dirk was picking people up, it was generally well inside the 3-point line, somewhere around the top of the key or the elbow, right? So there's not that much distance. Now they're exposing Luka 8 feet above sometimes above the 3-point line with the first pick. And then everybody spreads out, and it's really hard to help. And so, I mean, he's really, really good, but he misses too many free throws in big moments. He improved his free throw percentage this year. Most of the time in his career, he's been around 72, 73%, which isn't good enough for the guy who always has the ball. This year, almost 80, 79.5%, but he didn't shoot nearly that well in the playoffs. And that's, to me, is I don't know, it just pisses me off, because he's one of the best scorers the league's ever seen. He certainly is a great shooter, and Nowitzki is in that building every single day. And he would help him, but Luke ain't going to ask. So this is kind of this generation. And now what I'm really curious to see is what happens next year. Because I would assume that Jordan and everybody else that we want to put on this plateau would go home and say, I'm losing a bunch of weight. I'm going to gain some more muscle because I prefer my physical game, but I'm going to eat better. That's the other thing. He tells everyone he's a Chick-fil-A guy about 9 times a week, and he gets the vanilla shake, same as me. But when you have all the money in the world, you can just get a chef. Just hire someone that comes and makes you the most exquisite food ever, and you won't want the crap anymore, and you'll be able to do your job better. Or is he just so good that he doesn't give a damn, and he can play 10 years in this league and average 28 points a game and go right to the Hall of Fame and never, and we all know it now because we've seen it, win a championship? So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting, but none of it shocked me. You've heard me call him fat before. He's not fat. He's basketball superstar fat.
He's
just too
rotunda.
thick. He's just too thick. He's just too heavy, especially from the waist down. Can't guard. He doesn't really want to guard. And for his head coach to call him out and say he's got to be able to guard, and then he came back and he said he's got to be able to take some offensive trips off, meaning you also got to be willing to give the ball to Kyrie or whoever else I put in to get it up the floor. You've got to be able and willing to score on occasion from the weak side. Run off a couple of screens and shoot a 12-footer. Holy crap, we've all forgotten what any of that looks like. No one even does it. I must be kidding myself. But there are ways for him to score baskets that don't involve dribbling the Spalding off the basketball until you can orchestrate everyone where you want them, get three people on your back, go down the lane. And by the way, he's shortening his career because he falls down every single time he goes to the basket. Then add in 471 pitches to the official each game. And the truth is, I don't really love watching him play. I just don't.
6.5. I'll say 7. Let's go 7. 7-point underdogs. A 210.5 tonight. Porzingis is available.
Sure, he's available. That paper boy, he's definitely going to be on the floor at least for 5 minutes of the clinching game. And yet, what did he do? Did I not say? I thought you were going to open the intro with me saying, get yourself a parlay part of how many games Kristaps Porzingis misses in the championship. Did I not say it before the series started? It's a joke. He's a joke. And I don't give a shit about him. And if he wants to limp out there on whatever soft tissue injury he's got now and get his ring, then so be it. So be it. He got them off to a good start in the first half of game 1. Scored 18 points. In the second half, he scored 2, and he ain't played since. Same as always. But in terms of that line you just read me, I'll take all you got, because the Mavericks gave the rest of what they had to not get swept. And that was their goal. Doesn't matter. We're all humans. Their goal was, we ain't going out like that. And when they came out hot, and the Celtics certainly talked about, listen, finish it now. Championships are hard to come by. But in the back of their head, they're like, how much more fun is this going to be when we win in Boston? We got to win in Boston. Those are all human thoughts. So it was a relatively easy bet in game 4, and it's a relatively easy bet right now. What'd you say, 6, 6.5?
6.5.
Please hurry up and give it, because it's probably going to, what's it going to? You're good at this. Is it going up to 8 or 9 before game time?
There was a half-point move when Porzingis was announced available. I haven't seen a little move towards the over as well. The funny thing, though, Brady, I'll say is this, is Boston will not change their offensive style. If Boston comes out feeding off the crowd, and here's what I've said the whole time this week about this game, Dallas goes as far as Kyrie, meaning Luka's going to get his, the supporting cast is going to get theirs. Kyrie's got the monkey off his back. He finally beat the Celtics for the first time in 14 games or something to that number. He's got to have that 30, 35-point game with Luka. You got to withstand the first 6-7 minutes. If Boston comes out, hits 7 of their first 8 shots and their 3-pointers, and Dallas is cold, it's a wrap. You might as well just head to Logan right there.
I'll be shocked if Boston lets Dallas stay in the game as the fourth quarter begins. I'll be shocked if it's less than 18 to start the fourth. I'll be shocked. I really will. And the other thing is, I know you know this better than I do, because I'm not looking at your betting lines as much as I used to, but Kyrie hasn't had a good game in that building in forever. I doubt that's going to change tonight. If I'm Boston, I rough this team up as much as I possibly can early and remind them why they didn't really want any of this fight in game 2 and 3, right? And finish this thing off. And the Mavericks are going to be, you know what? We didn't get swept. We were brilliant in game 4. Good for us, but we ain't coming all the way back. We are not climbing this mountain. No way.
So end, so let's just call it a wrap at the end of the season. Good run. Western Conference champs. Kyrie played nice in the sandbox. What's the future for Dallas next year?
Yeah, I think, they realize they probably need another shooter, right? The Tim Hardaway Jr. thing is an abject disaster, and sometimes you just admit them. So they paid retail for him, as Jerry Jones would say, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and really he's never been good since. He's a streak shooter, but if you're a streak shooter and then you're playing in the NBA Finals, you ain't making a thing. And we've watched him. He's missed the entire basket several times in his attempts out on the floor. They tried to get him out there. He threw him out there a couple times in game 3 just to see if he could, make anything, and he didn't. And he can't guard, and he doesn't guard. So, that's too bad that happened. And really role players for Boston, really good role players, really, I thought were the difference in this thing. They did a great job guarding Luka. And that was the other thing I wanted to talk about, Jeff. The thing for Luka is, like, I assume as a competitor, one of the best players in the world, he's going to go home, get in shape, work on his body, work on his lateral movement, work on the things on the defensive end of the floor, because this is what the greatest players in the world would do, and they all want to play for championships. So I'm going to assume he's doing that. But the other thing is that, and the other reason he has to do it, is that Boston has drawn a blueprint for something that none of us we thought could happen, and that is they've shown people how to stop Luka. Now you may say that's ridiculous. In game 3, game 2, even as bad as he was, he had 32 points. He had a triple-double. It was an empty triple-double. He had 8 turnovers that actually could have been about 12. He lost the game all by himself. He never stops bitching, which is a whole nother thing. Someone's got to grab him that he respects, whoever it is, and say, don't you realize, one, you're killing yourself because they hate you. And human nature is they're going to call calls against you because they hate you. It's the reason, Cuban could probably talk to him and say, you know what I did in 2011? Didn't say a word. Through the entire playoffs in 2011, once they won that first series, came back, I think, against Portland, he vowed to all of us, I'm not talking to the media and I'm not saying anything at the games because I know they hate me. I'm not going to hurt my team. And this is very similar to that. Right. And Mark's ego is as big as anyone. So if Mark is willing to do it, Luka needs to be willing to do it too. It's a waste of time. And I'll tell you, if you got him one by one off to the side, his teammates would be like, yeah, it's enough. It's enough. Because now against really good teams, what keeps happening, and they're pointing it out on TV left and right, is he's still down here picking himself up because he falls down and whining and bitching. And they're running the other way with a 5-on-4 or better. And his man is unguarded. So these are things that all of us saw from the lazy kid in junior high, and then the coach jerked him out of the game and wouldn't play him. It's the same stuff. But the number one thing he has to get better for if he wants to be who he is they showed the blueprint. How do you guard Luka? You stay on the floor. He can't jump. So these up and under and around and whirling dervish and spinning back on one foot all are predicated on the fact that he can't jump. He doesn't jump. He doesn't really shoot jump shots. He shoots fade away. And I know this because I do too. I get about 4 inches off the ground. That's my jump shot. It's not jump. I sort of leave the ground. It's more of a timing mechanism than it is jumping. And it's the same with him. So they've showed everyone, listen, double him, everyone keep an eye on him, and no one jumps. And he will eventually show you the basketball, and he's standing on the floor. If you're a good defender and you're taller than him, you're going to adjust every one of his shots. And it happened a ton. So that's the other thing. Anyone who loves him is going to say a few things. But one, they just gave a blueprint to the world about how to guard you. And the other thing he now knows after whatever it is, 5 or 6 years in this league, playoffs on the regular season they're not even in the same atmosphere. In the playoffs, you can run around. He can throw up 30, no problem. How many rebounds a game does he get that just hit him in the chest? Because the floor is so spread out, right? I'm not bitching. I'm just saying this game with 4 on the 3-point line and 1 shooting it. Lots of rebounds just hit you. Nowitzki once said to me, I'm supposed to average 10 rebounds a game, Brady. I'm 7'4". 6 are going to hit me in the head. And he was right. But it's even easier now than it was then because the floor was much more congested. So stats are kind of a joke now. But the bottom line is someone should point out to him, they put out a blueprint how to stop you. Tall guys stand there and breathe in your ear and talk to you and don't jump. And eventually you have to show them the basketball. So it's a lot for him. I'll be really curious. And I'm sure I'm more than willing to flip and say if he goes to work like that and does that I will jump on his bandwagon because if you watch him at his core, his ability to see the floor, to make passes everywhere, to make shots that nobody should be able to make, to use both hands, to handle the ball like Magic Johnson or better at his size and not get ripped all the time. He's amazing. He's one of the most amazing basketball players I've ever seen, and that's the reason I think that I'm so hard on him.
Let's go to Jerry's World. We're getting closer to 2 weeks left in June. July around the corner. CD Lamb, Dak, Micah. Any word on any contracts, extensions? What's going on? Injuries? Any updates at Jerry's World?
Well, the initial word was the CD thing was going to get done quickly, and I do still think it's going to get done. So the Cowboys' priorities, I believe in this order, are CD Lamb, Micah Parsons, and a close 1-2. And the other reason, and it may not be, if it's flat-footed, it may be even between those two. But they've got Micah this year, and they'll pick up his fifth-year option next year at $21.5 million. That's a gimme. And so if they want to, they can wait. So they will wait a little while on him and see if the market settles, see how their money ends up, and see if there's a good time to try and get a mild discount. Because somewhere in there, he's going to get Aaron Donald money, right, that he got a couple of years. Going to get around 26 to 28. I don't think 30, but maybe. And so that's a lot of money, but he's a great player. So if I'm coaching Micah Parsons, I'm also playing him less plays. And I'm letting him Lawrence Taylor more often, where he just, especially in big downs, walks around. Just walk around and, oh, there's a weakness. I'm going right there, right? I'm not going to get chipped or double teamed there. They need to do that a lot more. Micah Parsons at whatever he is, 6 feet tall, maybe, probably not, more like 5'10", putting his hand in the ground against a tackle that weighs 50 to 100 pounds more than he does, then getting chipped by a tight end or a running back. It's a lot for his body to take. And he has that Pete Maravich competitive thing where he never wants to come off the field, even when he's dead tired. But he's 25. You need him to be only 26 next year, not 28. So I would do more to protect him, and I would not give him a choice. Up to this point in his career, he's basically had the choice. I'm staying. Fuck off. I'm staying. And they've got to get that to the point where when the coach says you're out, you're out. You're gonna play 36 plays a game rather than 44, and it will make a big difference. So I would protect him. He's just too small, and he's just too good. CD will get paid. Now here's the thing, and most people who study this probably know it. Dak Prescott holds every card in the world and is going to get paid maybe somewhere close to $60 million a year. He will reset the market. And if you're a Cowboy fan, you're like, hell no, let's just go with what we got. Well, if you're a smart football fan, you know that isn't the truth. In this league, if you're going to get in the playoffs and have a chance to get in the dance and have a chance to go to the Super Bowl, you have to have a good quarterback. Dak's a good quarterback. He just doesn't happen to be a good quarterback during the playoffs. But maybe that'll change. He's only 30. He's got a pretty darn young body. He had a good year last year. They've won 36 games in the last 3 years, 36. But they're not signing him. They're going to wait. At least they're going to wait. And they've got Trey Lance that they're kind of interested in. They gave a 4th-round pick. The question is, well, if you're interested in him, you better get him on the damn field a lot during the preseason. Bless you. And would you make? Who was that? Why am I hearing that? That wasn't me. That's a big sneeze I heard right there. Like I feel like it's on the lens. It may actually be affecting my shot. Anyway, Trey Lance needs to play football, and I don't really have I don't know if anybody does, have a huge amount of confidence. He played at such a low level. He really never got anything going, and then he got hurt. But if you believe that you have a really good defense and that your offensive line can hold up and you've got a couple of good wide receivers, then you got to get Trey Lance on the field and see if he can run the simplest of plays and see how often, he can run pass options and see if we can get his legs back into it and see what he's got. Because Jerry is daring the world and daring Dak to say, I'm good, and walk away, which he can easily do. And he's going to get paid $55 to $60 million somewhere else. And name the teams, Jeff, who'd want Dak? The Raiders. How about, you don't think the Jets are tantalized by Dak? I mean, how long is Aaron? Aaron's not even showing up now, right? Is it ever not Aaron time? Is it ever not time when all of us need to be talking about the greatness of Aaron Rodgers? Why is he not there? Does anyone know? Are you talking to anyone from New York? What's Aaron doing that now, after all of this drama and the injury and everyone loves Aaron and we're all going to be okay because of Aaron, now he's not at camp? Do we know why? I'm just curious.
I think he's at a retreat.
overseas doing that ayahuasca shit or whatever, right? Illegal everywhere, but not there. Well, whatever. I would say the Jets would be interested next year in Dak Prescott. I would say the Raiders would. I would say, boy, they would love this. The Giants would. And probably you and I can come up with 5 more, right? So he's good. And so if Jerry's going to play chicken, Dak will go. So I don't know. I don't know how they're going to run the football. I don't know how they're going to win more than 8 or 9 games. Maybe they are. But they also got a new defensive coordinator in here. So all of these defenders that have been so good and so many sacks and so many turnovers in the last 2 or 3 years, it's a different guy. I mean, this defensive coordinator is really good, but it's not the same. So that's a change too. So this year is way up in question. I'd be really surprised if they won 10 games, and they might. But you're missing. You got a new center. You got a new left tackle. You got a quarterback who now feels unloved. And you got a wide receiver who wishes you'd go ahead and pay him now. There's a lot of that. When you get a lot of that, all of a sudden you walk in locker rooms and there are different feels. And the last 3 years, that locker room was nice and tight. Everybody kind of had everybody's back. There were lots of guys going to the Pro Bowl. There were lots of people getting paid. Those are all things that make for good, for good locker rooms. And then everyone loves the quarterback. So, but most of them really like the coach. So it's been a really good locker room. They just didn't win playoff games. Sorry. It's a bummer.
We're going to bring you back probably. We're going to give you July off, and then we'll get back to you in August as we get closer to preseason, what's really going on down there, any key injuries, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Got to give you a few minutes. Kansas City has not been.
Oh, wait, let me finish Cowboys real quick. I didn't finish. When I said Dak holds all the cards, he has a no trade clause, and he essentially has a no franchise clause. So this ends here. They can't trade him, and they can't franchise him. So at some point, someone's going to decide, you know what, we're screwing up. Let's get him on the phone. Maybe that's happening now. Get him on the phone. We'll work this out. We'll get him paid. We'll figure out how we can pay everyone else, and we'll go forward with this same crap we've been going forward with because it wins a lot of games and sells a lot of merchandise, or they're going to let it go. But Dak holds every card. No trade clause. No franchise tag. There's nothing they can do to him besides pay him or let him go. Now, Kansas City, what do you want to know about them?
Been a rough off season, training camps, Rashee Rice, guys almost dying on the field, guys getting arrested. It has not been pleasant. I know you're a big fan, obviously grew up there. Give us the latest update, what's going on in KC.
I don't think people in Kansas City are as worried as you are. The Rashee Rice thing is a bummer, and not a whole lot has happened really good with the rookie wide receiver from Texas so far. Some drop passes, some people looking a little bit sideways at this young man. So we'll see if he can sort of get over the proverbial hump, catching the football and gain some confidence, and maybe Pat will grab him by the scruff of the neck. So I don't think people are that worried. Certainly missing Rice, and there are people saying, well, the police may not respond or do anything with this till next year, till the offseason. That's true. But the commissioner doesn't have to wait. So at any point, if he wants to suspend him, he can suspend him. The Chiefs can jump in front of this and make some sort of gesture and say, we're already suspending him. He ain't playing for 8 games. And the commissioner's going to come in and say, we appreciate that gesture. It's 12. And now he can appeal, and it'll be 10. That's my prediction. So they're going to miss him for a long time, and I'm still not sure if they're cutting him or not. I kind of doubt it, since they're trying to win their 3rd Super Bowl in a row, and they're trying to do something really no one's ever done since pre-Super Bowl era. I think the Packers won 3 in a row with Lombardi. So that's important to them. It's important to Pat. It's important to Andy. So maybe they go outside of what they would normally do and let Rice stay on the team. But it's pretty egregious getting into a car wreck with 4 cars and really not even checking to make sure nobody's dead. It's pretty bad. It's akin to a lot of things. So Kansas City people don't love it. They don't love it. They didn't keep Kareem Hunt around. Now, he kicked a girl in the stomach, but I don't know how to equate what's equal or what's bad or not. That was pretty darn bad, but leaving a mangled bunch of cars standing in the road when you're the strongest guy there, and if needed, could have picked somebody up out of a car and saved them, and you didn't even look. You hid your guns in the trash can and got out of there is pretty terrible. It's pretty terrible. I mean, there were kids in those cars. Could have been a kid. I don't know how you let him off. I don't know how anybody lets him off. And so I have a feeling that there's an 8 to 10 game absence for him if he's on this team. And that is a big deal because he was really good, as we all know. Fantasy players know he was really good the last 8 games of the year. And you put him with the addition of who do we get? Hollywood, right?
That was my question for fantasy-wise. What do you think of Hollywood this year?
Well, I think Hollywood's a good player. He gets hurt too, and he's awful small. Other than Tyreek, Pat hasn't thrown to many small receivers. And the thing about Tyreek, especially in his first 5 years, is he had about a 40-inch vertical jump. So you never saw somebody that small and that fast who also high-pointed the ball. So Tyreek was a freak. And I don't think Hollywood is. I think he's a good route runner, though, and Pat could use a really good route runner that's not a tight end. So the thing is, I've never seen this team, even really with Tyreek, favor a wide receiver, right? They favor Kelsey because he's standing in front of him. But I don't know. If I was a fantasy guy, I'd think if Hollywood plays 14 games, that would be great. And he has 950 yards and 8 touchdowns, and it's a pretty good season. And he's where he's supposed to be, and that would be a big deal. And then you hope the Texas rookie comes along and continues to get better, and because you want to, if you're from Kansas City, you can envision him by week 8 all of a sudden being an integral part of what Pat is doing as well. But he's more of a on the sideline guy and a speed guy. So is that kid willing to run crossing routes, right? Is he willing to? Because Rice was willing to run crossing routes. He was willing to run into people. And he had that great knack of catching that ball and turning and running straight line towards the end zone. I don't think that's on this team other than him and Kelsey. So, but I'm not that worried about him. The big defensive tackle that's now gotten arrested twice had already been relegated to about a 3rd position on the defensive line based on the acquisitions and drafts they made. So they're not that worried about him. And then the kid, who almost lost his life, man. Do we hear about that once every 3 or 4 years in this league? The heat, the amount of weight they have on their bodies, the collisions that they go through. I watched Tyron Smith probably 3 or 4 times in my time in Oxnard and in different camps, hurt guys, and he didn't mean to. So, left tackle, he was just so giant. He only had about 8% body fat on that massively strong frame. And when they would come, his first punch was so hard that he dislocated at least 2 shoulders. And he never meant to. Like, he'd always just be so crestfallen that he hurt a teammate. So the abuse that these guys physically take is unbelievable. I never begrudge an NFL player a dime, not a dime.
Lastly, anyone pushing Pacheco? Who's back? Is CEH still going to make the team? Who else is back there?
Yeah. I mean, I think they feel once they got over that Clyde Edwards-Helaire wasn't who they thought he was going to be, right? He gained 1,000 yards that rookie year, but he wasn't who they wanted. He didn't catch the ball as well as they thought he would. He looked like he caught the ball so well in college, right? He was just everywhere. He was a pinball. And then all of a sudden, Pat couldn't see him because he was little, and he didn't do a good job as a dump-off guy in getting to space where he could show Pat his numbers. And I don't think he's gotten much better at that. But if you watch the Chiefs enough, you'll realize that Andy likes Clyde on first down because he always gets 3.1 yards. And the truth is that ain't great. But as far as Andy's concerned, they love 2nd and 6, even 2nd and 7. There's 4 million plays in the Andy Reid, Pat Mahomes bag, including we'll just ad-lib this shit. So he doesn't hate Clyde at all. Clyde runs between the tackles, doesn't have any problem doing it, had some good games, not good statistical games that you would ever draft him in fantasy, but he had those 4 for 34 games. So I think they're fine with him. I think they're fine with it. And they better be, because Pacheco runs into everything and everyone as hard as he can, and he ain't that big. He is tough. He's Steve Smith, old Carolina wide receiver tough. He's just stupid tough. But you can't be that size and be tough as you can be and run into everything and live to tell about it. So, but they're all right. That offensive line's pretty good. They're good. They got the best player.
We can't thank you enough. I got to give you a few seconds to shout out where you are working, and anyone in the area. How do they find you?
Yeah, DFW Sports Beat on X, I think it's called, at DFW Sports Beat, and at A Cowboy Life are the 2 places that I X. Is that what I do now? I X instead of tweet?
X, yeah.
I X. It sounds so bad, right? Because isn't there a drug that I can X? Anyway, I don't do that. I'm 62 years old. I don't do any of that. But those two places are where you'll find most of my comments. I don't share much in my personal life, but I will put some videos up, and I will tell you what I hear as I go into the locker rooms and hang out with all my other compadres that are so into this football team. This is a very well-covered football team, and they're fun. They're lots of fun.
And what about the house market?
Last 2 weeks have, I'm sure it's this way in most of the country, but the last 2 weeks, everything is flipping on its ear. Interest rates are not going down, which we didn't think they would. We thought early in the year they would. We thought March or April we were going to get some reprieve. We thought we might be in the sixes by the end of this year. And now we're pretty damn certain nothing's going to happen. I mean, it may go up and down, quarter point here or there. Watch the gas prices. When gas prices go down, it might be a good day or two to put your house on the market. But for the most part, what's happened here is it is now a buyer's market. And that happened for me as an agent who's got 6 houses on the market, felt like it happened like that. And so I had houses that I'm very happy and comfortable that I'm selling, and they're prepared beautifully and they're marketed beautifully, that all of a sudden we're in trouble. We're in danger, not of not selling them, but of it taking, instead of 30 days or 15 days, I've done some good work in the last 3 months, might take 100 days. And then, you get to schools in, and things really begin to stop. And then you get to the election, which is going to polarize all of us, and things are really going to stop. Maybe a few houses sell in November and December, not many. Nothing sells in January. So this is it. I've got till August 15th-ish to sell these 10 listings that I'm going to have. And all of a sudden, I'm a lot more nervous about it than I was. That it is flipping to a buyer's market. And what's happening is, Jeff, and you probably need to go, but 2.5 years ago, we all know the interest rates were 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5. Well, what happened was everyone lined up to buy those houses. Unfortunately, I wasn't in the business then, so I didn't reap any of that, just throwing, addresses in the air and people diving on them and paying, well over market value. But what it did was it artificially drove people's values of their houses through the roof. You can go online, look anywhere and look at, tax rates. And in 2021 to 2022, people's houses, or their supposed value of their houses, went up 30, 40%, 50%. But what I've got now is people looking at I'm selling a $1.1 million house, and they're looking closely at their husband and their wife saying, is it really a $1.1 million house? I mean, I thought when I saw a $1.1 million house, it would turn me on a little more. So what they're looking back at, they're going back to tax records from 2 years ago, and they're saying that this $1.1 million house in Dallas was $578. How to get $500,000 better in 2.5 years? Well, it's just the market, and you either pay or you don't. But as things get tougher now, people are like, well, maybe we just don't. Maybe we rent for a while, which is awful. Or maybe we just stay where we're at, right? It's not like any of the houses here in Dallas are going down in value. They're not. They're not. If you own a house in Dallas, in any kind of decent neighborhood that's any kind of decent shape, it is ascending in value, always. Maybe not quite as fast in these 12 months here or so, but it's still going up. So a lot of people are just staying, and especially people who got those through 2.5%, 3.5% interest rates. Why am I going? I'm jumping into a house that now looks overpriced for 7.5%. So it's gotten a little bit tougher, but I still like it.
Well, we're wishing you the best of luck, obviously. We're going to give you that 6 weeks that you need to sell all those 10 houses.
I really do some work preparing.
And we'll catch you at some point midsummer, so maybe before August. But anyways, go follow Brady, obviously, on the X or Twitter at Cowboy
DFW
Life.
Sports Beat and at a Cowboy Life. Yeah, thank you.
I'll work on some Sports Beat.
I'll work on some more videos and some more spicy stuff.
For myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, Brady Tinker, the star, the voice of Dallas, and he's going to poop his pants if I reach back in 2 days and say, hey, we got to come on for game 6. So enjoy the game. Everyone have some fun. Last time I saw 7 and 2 10.5. First one to 109 wins today. That's just a quick little shout out there. So for myself, Jeff Dawson, EC Sports Invest, Brady Tinker, Cowboy Life, DFW Sports Beat. Enjoy the night, and we'll catch you guys in the AM.